All right, we're back at it.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to episode 5, The Joys of Parenting.
Yeah,
So much
we're
joy.
going to talk about it. Talk about it today. Keep it 100. So thank you guys for being with us again. And just a reminder, don't forget to like and follow.
And subscribe.
So today we're going to be talking about parenting. We've been parents now since 1999. It's been
And
a
it was a
minute.
party.
Yeah, it was a party. So it's been a minute. And of course, Zan and Ava. Ava's now 15 and Zan's are forever 20, so we've parents here, boy and a girl, and both of those. So let's talk about that a bit. Why don't we start back at the beginning? How would you describe yourself as a kid? I guess that's a good place. Before we're parents, we were kids. And what comes to mind?
My what I believe to be I was as a kid is obviously really different than what my sister, my sisters, my siblings described me. I thought I was like a really good kid, and I was a good kid and still am. Good daughter, but I think that I was just in everything. I was always in everything they said. And there's a lot of good stories about me getting into unnecessary
Mischief?
and was mischievous, but not like bad mischievous, but just a little curious.
You were curious.
I was a very curious child.
You wanted to know why.
I wanted to know why.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that I was describe myself as curious per se. As I think about it, there's a whole lot in childhood, but I think I could be described as, this is before 12, right? As a kid, because everyone changes as they grow up. But it was very much, I was the oldest cousin, second oldest on my grandma's side, on my dad's side, and the oldest cousin on my mom's side. So I was near the top of the line. And I always wanted to be the leader of the cousins, the leader of my siblings, in regards to what we're doing. If we were having a game, I wanted to organize the game. I wanted to keep things moving. I was generally the one to say, let's do this, let's do that. So, but also, if there was a camera rolling, I wanted to be in front of the camera. So there's home videos and you'll see me bouncing in and out of the cameras. So, not that I needed all the attention, but...
Well, I don't know. Maybe you did. Well, it's not...
But, and I would say that I really liked the adventure. I think, even to this day, but as a kid, right, if it was an opportunity to go, to my grandparents, to go to San Diego for the weekend, for the summer, to go with an uncle somewhere, to go with my cousins, I always was like, yeah, let's do it. I wanted something new, something fun. I was very adventurous. I like that change.
Yeah. I think as far as personalities, I always wanted to hang out with the older kids.
So the older kids, because you were the younger kid, right?
Yeah, and I'm like
age gap.
Yeah, that age gap, but I think the natural leader. So I didn't want to be the leader. I just was a leader.
You just spoke up and did it. What ways do you think you're different or the same as you think about your personality as a kid? It's pretty much the same?
I think I'm the same.
Yeah. I think I think I'm the same, just depending on the setting though. Right, work me versus me at home versus me just hanging out with friends.
And that's where the disc comes in. How did my disc come out?
Your disc was very high I, followed by S. And I, if you're not familiar with the disc, is includer. You get energy, very extroverted personality that's drawn towards people, but outgoing. So I'm also high I. We're both very high I's. The difference is your S is your secondary, which is supportive, steady. You're a great friend, right? You've got how many lifelong friends, people that, you're really close to regardless to what area you move to. And I'm an ID, meaning I do like it, but it's usually about something, right? We're going to do some. D is you're competitive. You want to be an achiever. It's whatever the task at hand is. So it's kind of balanced between those, but we're both very high I. So in those regards, my personality may flex if there's no task at hand, if there's no game going on, then it's just enjoying people, listening, talking.
And mine stayed the same. My D comes out when there is no leader. I step into that role. But mine, remember, that was the whole thing, because you guys all thought that I had my disc so off.
Right.
There's no way that you don't flex, because I'm pretty consistent. So the
Right.
Debra that I was at 5,
Your natural
10,
versus adapted is
it's the same.
exactly
Like
on both
Jesus,
sides. Yeah.
doesn't change.
Yeah, it's exactly the same, which I think is a good thing. It's a good quality.
Pretty consistent.
Before we get into parenting and talking a little bit more about that, how would you describe yourself that way? How would your mom and or dad describe you, in your opinion? Would they basically
My parents, and to this day, they tell me I'm a leader. I'm a, just go get 'em. And although my name is not spelled like the Deborah in the Bible, that's just something that my parents, they're like, you're just a natural go-getter. You're gonna do it. You do things, and you do things well. You do things great. Nothing but praise for my parents. And obviously I think that's just with my upbringing in our home. Is my parents have always encouraged, believed, and believed for the best, that, so the sky's the limit, truly. And I've sort of just held on to that.
Right.
And I believe it, but yeah.
Yeah, and as I think back as a child, I remember my parents telling me that very, very well behaved, right? That other people would comment like how well behaved I was. I think where I get into trouble with that is that I could be mischievous with,
No te
left to
conocen.
my own choices. So, yeah, there's some stories in there for sure.
A lot of stories.
Okay, so let's talk about now parents. As we mentioned, since 1999, that's when Zan was born, and Ava came and joined the party in 2007. I would describe myself as a parent. I am not the hammer. I'm not the heavy. I tend to say yes before I ever say no. But I would describe myself as a parent as easygoing. That tends to be my thing, depending on what I'm doing. But I do need to focus, and at times I've caught myself like I need to focus. But for the most part, I'm easygoing. How would you describe yourself? Why are you laughing?
Because I'm just remembering what Ava said last week.
What'd she
where I was
say?
like, Ava asked Dad, he's not listening. So you're very easygoing. You just zone out. I am the heavy. I'm the get things done person. And so, not that you're not.
But our approach is different.
Definitely the approach is different. It's just get it done. Just do the things. And even just last week, right?
Yeah.
Ava and I, she's like, Mom, let's shake on this one. And we shook on an agreement about getting something done.
She renegotiated her allowance.
We renegotiated the allowance. And last night when I came home, I don't remember where I was, and the things were done, and I celebrated her, and I was like, thank you so much for doing that.
Right.
Well, and that was big because I didn't have to ask. And that to me is huge. So yeah, I am the heavy. Zan and Ava both, they need something. in regards to an expense or just anything, signing them up, I'm the one they come to. But I
Right.
think that also came with those years, the last so many years that I was home.
Yeah, you
Even
were
when I was
more
working,
available.
even when I was working at the school, I was on their schedule. So I was more available, and I think that has a lot to do with it as well. So I just assumed
Yeah,
that
I think
role.
that's part of it, but to your point, you do get things done, and so if something's got to get done, it's got to go make it happen. It gets done. So
I make it happen.
you make it happen. Yeah, so very different parenting approaches, styles, and obviously the learning, right? There's a lot of learning you have from the first child to the second child. There's just, everything was urgent, everything was critical, first kid, and the second kid, I don't know if you're just worn down or you just learn that some of the things are just not as big of a deal as you thought they were. And so you're just not, stressed about them. That's the way I took it.
Yeah. Some things.
Yeah, some
I
things.
think it just,
We were
two,
sterilizing everything, Zanny.
yeah.
It was to the
Yeah, I
T.
was
We
passing out antibacterial to everybody and
Yeah.
wouldn't let anyone touch him without washing their hands. I was that mom. And I don't regret 1 minute of it. And even with Ava, I was like,
Yeah, but we were a lot more open.
a lot more open, definitely. But they're two different personalities,
They are.
even as babies. Two
Right.
different personalities. So I had to relinquish a lot of control with Ava, even as a baby,
Yeah. She's her own.
because she marches to the beat of her own drum, and period.
Yeah, Ava is definitely vocal about her things, and even more. I love seeing her even now as a 15-year-old. Her
Yeah.
thoughts, that she's really developed her own opinions on things, and how she sees the world, questions and assumptions and things like that.
Yeah.
Although she is driving right now, which I've gone for a driving lesson with her, and
And she has a driving instructor. And
she is a driving instructor, but
who said what?
she's a natural driver, know. But I will tell you, it freaks me out just to not have. I don't have the break that those driving instructors have, where they can just. Yeah.
But like we said, personalities are different, right? So when Zan was like, he passed his permit, he got his permit, it was like, okay, get in the car, let's go. Like was at ease, even still a little nervous, taking him out for his first time. Like I wanted to be the one. And I thought with Ava, I wanted to be the one. But that changed where I'm like, I can't take her out. Like I'm scared.
But she's
really good.
Really good.
Yeah. And even today, she's like, Mom, can we go for, a lesson? And I was like, ask Dad. She's like, why are you scared to drive with me? I said, I'm not scared. I'm scared.
Yeah, Ava is a really good driver. She's a natural, but I think it's just as parents and the fact that she is the baby of the family.
She is the baby.
She always has been, and she's also one, like you mentioned, older groups. Ava can hold a great conversation with adults because she's always had to be around older kids and adults.
As Zan did.
As Zan, right? Because they have
Old
an
soul.
8-year spread between them. So very, very much. What comes to mind when you think of what is some of the best parenting advice you got, as a new parent, or, even afterwards? What comes to mind?
So much advice out there. It's, being your child's number one supporter, cheerleader, no matter what. Like,
No matter what.
I always, what comes to mind is no one is going to stand up for your child like you would, regardless.
Yeah. And that, even if the world is falling on them as a parent, you are that supporter that just will never turn your back on them. But I think the other thing that you mentioned, and I took this advice, and I think it showed very clearly with Ava, is each child is an individual, right? Things that you may have done with one child, they're not going to work. Every child is unique, and they say that even about identical twins, right? Like their own being, and that's where I think it's important to really understand that, sometimes these hard and fast rules don't work across the board,
Right.
because you have a different kid, or you have a kid that's going to really challenge you on the why, and what for, and how come, and things like that, and honest questions, not from a standpoint of just to be contrary, but they're really just asking those questions. Right. And so I think that was good advice. I think some of the advice that I've taken as well for both Zan and Ava is to be present. And you kind of mentioned that that's something I have to work on, is the be present, right? But you and her could be going at it, and just my mind just totally the tuner goes out all the way to zero, and I'm literally doing whatever I'm doing. I don't hear anything.
Well, you can be looking right at us, right, and I'm like, say something, help me.
But be present. So it's something that I actively work on. I've kind of written it into my plan, into my journal, and something, my personal goals is be present. So I really do focus on that, where, close the phone, close the laptop, face her just like I would at people at work, that
right.
Give them that.
And I remember you saying that. You're like at the office, having those conversations. It's turning away from the computer, having eye contact.
Eye contact. It means a lot.
And it can be easy to not do that with the kids, right?
Yeah.
When Zan or with Ava, and being intentional about closing the laptop, putting the phone down. That's like being intentional. And sometimes when we're in it, we're in the moment, it's easy not to.
Yeah.
So
now we are heading into that other generation, right? We've now drifted. We are Gen Xers, but we have two amazing kids, and I think about the world today, right? Like if you were having a baby this year, right? And we know friends and family that have recently had babies, and the world's different now, right? We didn't have nearly the things that technology-wise, or some of the scares or concerns that are out there right now, or that maybe those concerns existed back then, but we just didn't know about all the dangers. Right. What kind of advice would you give to a new parent today? I mean, what are some of the things that come to your mind that you think that are still relevant and applicable today?
Don't let them out of your sight.
I know we did see that Freedom movie. I mean, really good movie. I do recommend you see it. The Sound of Freedom, really good movie. But my gosh, if your heart doesn't,
or that other drop. What's the one? The bird.
Yeah, the Blackbird one out there on Apple. I mean, also one that where your heart just goes.
Advice, don't take things too seriously. I mean, we were just talking about the school stuff yesterday or the day before with Carly. When did she come over? Carly, like 2 days ago, and we were talking about school and what matters and what doesn't matter. And, as a new parent, I'm like, with Zanny, it was, well, one, he was easy when it came to like schoolwork. He just self-sufficient. Smart. I mean, he got himself to call, like he did all the application. He did all of it. And so is Ava in her own. She's just a little more of a procrastinator about things. But that being said, you have the ability and you're capable of you are an A student. So that's on you. I put so much emphasis on the grade, on the doing the right thing.
Right, the marker, the
checklist, the test, and now after experiencing
in the big picture,
that shit doesn't matter. Yeah. It really doesn't. So with Ava, different personality, and she's a pretty much straight A, B student. I don't even care. I'm like, is it your, we've always said that. Is it your best work? Right. Did you do your best? Okay, that's your best. And it's always been that way since day one. although in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, push for it, strive, do your
Right.
best, get the best.
So I mean, I think I think we care, right? We care about her well-being and what she does in school or academics or whatever she's striving for. But our bandwidth, I think, for the grace is just so much wider.
The grace is, yeah.
Right, in terms of how does this impact the whole grand scheme of things? It's
Right.
you know,
So the advice is don't take things too seriously.
yeah,
Because at the end of the day, you want to enjoy your kids. I mean, Ava's 15. She has 3 more years of high school. We don't know, I want her to go to college. She wants to go to college. We want her to, but we don't know what she's going to decide. And
right.
it's on her to decide what she wants to do.
And when you see that chart, I'm sure you guys have seen that chart. It's been floating around, like how long your kids are with you, and it's a graph chart. When they're born, they're like 100% with you, and the chart just falls, and then once they hit like 18, the chart so while they're with you, to your point, like these are the good days. They are with you, especially they're in your home, because you just don't know. And I think sometimes, especially when they're small, I went through it with, you're balancing work and the kids, and you get home and things can be chaotic. But really, those are great days. And if you miss them, wanting them to grow up, you could just miss it.
You miss it.
You miss it.
And ultimately, this is the time we have.
Right.
Whether, and I like, even with Zan, like, no, just finish it, go to school, get it done. You have a scholarship, so we always talked about those things. But I remember having the conversation of like, look, I just want you to be happy. So if that means if you want to work at McDonald's and you're happy, go for it. So that same thing applies now with Ava. Whatever you want to do, are you happy? Do you get joy from doing what you do? If you don't like it, change it, right? So that's probably the advice is, let your kids be themselves. Let
their
them
path.
be their support, but let them find their path.
Yeah. And I also think that, and I agree with that. Ava did this really great report a couple weeks ago. She was procrastinating a bit, and she asked for help. But her end product that she ran with at the end, I mean, it was so amazing. I mean, I kind of helped her work through the content part of, from the research standpoint. But what she did and crafted and made her story her own, I was just so proud as a dad. I'm like, she's a storyteller. Like, so I think also parents can see gifts that maybe they can't see. Like, I don't see them. I'm like, you have that's not normal that somebody would think about their peers and their teacher and how they would receive the story with a beginning, a middle, and an end, a before, during, and after, and put it in a way that they would remember it. And she just did. And I was like, wow, very proud as a dad, but also acknowledging those gifts that I saw in her and said, that is a really good skill that I've seen in people that influence boardrooms, that influence decisions, and you did that naturally on your own. That part she ran with. So, so moving into towards the end of this year, I do think there is a role, having a kid that puts you in understanding unconditional love. And you kind of mentioned that, right? When the world is, everything falls apart. This unconditional love, like there's nothing they can do to make you love them less or more. I mean, you're proud, but you don't love them more. You just love them. How would you explain that to somebody who doesn't know? Like they're not a parent, or if they've never experienced. How would you explain that to them?
Yeah, because if they're not a parent, then they have no idea.
It's really hard to explain.
It's really hard
But how
to
would you
explain.
put it in words to the best of your ability?
Simply, there's nothing that my children can do to cause me to not support them, love them, and be there for them.
Yeah.
I may not be happy with a decision or with something, but I'm going to support them.
Yeah.
I'm going to love them. I'm going to be there for them.
And it's a great love. It really is a great love, and with love comes risk. And we've talked about that in some of the last episodes of this thing. If you didn't have that significant amount of love, the risk of them not being present, just it wouldn't be the same. But because that's there, that's part of the deal.
Right.
It's just that they come there, and I think about this, as I look at this from a faith perspective with my Heavenly Father. We are His children, all of us here. In the Bible, God breathed life into Adam, and that air is still in humanity today. It's duplicated, but it's still that same air. We are His kids, and you can imagine Him looking at us and just love, right? He wants the best for us. He doesn't want us to hurt or to suffer, but there's that unconditional love. That's what I think about. I mean, has that changed anything about how you see your faith when it comes to being a parent and thinking about, okay, you're somebody's child?
Has something changed? No, I don't think. I've always believed that, though, because I was raised with that type of message in the home, right? And my mom was very, and dad, they both have always, that I feel have always shared that, like, there's nothing, that you could do. You may we may get upset. They've never said that word to me. I use it. Piss me off. You may make me upset. You may make me angry. I may not be happy with what your choice,
Right.
but I always felt love. And I was in a class at a church, and one of the things that was asked is, how do you view when you view, or you view a picture of your Heavenly Father, what image comes to mind? And the majority of the people in that room said judge. And mine was the picture that came to mind was of one growing up that I saw in church, and it was Jesus sitting around with all these little kids around him, and there was like a sheep over here or a lamb. And to me, that's the picture I have of God.
Yeah. He's chill.
Of loving
Right.
arms around children. And I received that at home. I never felt judgment from my parents. Now, my older siblings, maybe, but remember, I was baby until my brother came along and dethroned me. So I never experienced that.
Yeah.
Where I think that's also a correlation of how we view. That's how it was shared, right? Your view of your Heavenly Father is the view that you have of, like, even your earthly, because you see judgment. So what kind of parent are you? What are you pouring into, what are you pouring into your children?
Well, I think that, and maybe it's not changed for me, but it's more insight, like, as you see your kids go out into the world, like when Zan went to college, or now that Ava's going to be driving, like, as a parent, there's so much love, but at the same time, it's like your heart is going out, they're into the world, right? They're his kids, but as a parent, you feel that because you have so much love, and I think that insight for me, that is shaped and changed as I felt that, like, I feel this way about my kids. And I think about that story in the Bible about the father and his prodigal son leaves. He's looking for him. He's thinking about him. He has this, he's waiting for him to come home, because a parent knows about, this world is crazy and there's love and there's admiration, but it's out there. And you think about us, we're out here in the world, and sometimes we do things that are really good, and we help others, and I'm sure that makes him proud. But there's other things that could put us in danger, and you can imagine him being like, rooting for us to not be in danger, because that's how I feel about my kids. You know, I want them to be safe. I want them to be secure, and that's how that's shaped my view of my Heavenly Father from that standpoint of, wow, He thinks about me. He wants me to be safe. He wants me to make good decisions for me because He loves me, and that's how I feel.
And
about,
even when you don't, he still loves you.
He still does, but there's that care and that risk of, you know, you eventually release them into the world, and you know, that's advice that I taken. These kids, they belong to the Lord, and I think with anything in this life, you know, we don't take anything with us materially, you know, and for most people, they don't die together with somebody in like the Notebook, you know, they don't, you die by yourself.
You mean we're not dying together?
Nope. So we have this running, like who's going first, but
I am.
so we have this, yeah. Who knows? But my point is, you don't die together, you know, in most cases.
Some people do, but yeah, you don't.
You come into this earth by yourself, you leave by yourself from this physical body, and so from that standpoint, you can't take anything with you. And as you release that, I think it is powerful and freeing to understand that you can't take anything, especially materially, with you. But we get so stressed sometimes over that stuff. I can get stressed about stuff like that, you know. So
I could tell Ava, you got to make your own money, girl, because I'm spending the one I made.
well, the joys of parents, the unexpected twists and turns. But again, as we wrap up here, we hope this has been helpful to you. As always, you matter.
You matter.
And You Matter Foundation out there for anybody who may be struggling. Encourage you to check that out. And we're happy you joined us today. And we have more episodes coming.
More to come. Don't forget to like, share, follow, subscribe.